Book 1, Law of Salimi, Chapter 26, Scholarship Interview. In my second semester, there was an offer for scholarship from a very famous petrol-based organization being offered to students who were eligible. It was an exciting opportunity to receive a scholarship to fund my studies at UiTM campus Mangatal. After I began examining the details of the regulations for eligibility, I saw the first rule stating that only Sabah-born students should apply. Aside of this one particular rule, I was eligible for applying the scholarship. Nonetheless, the first rule was essentially a deal breaker for me since I was born in Kuala Lumpur, as you can see from my certificate of birth included in my earlier chapter of this book. I was born in Kuala Lumpur Hospital, which clearly made me not an eligible candidate. Due to that, I never focused any energy towards applying for the scholarship. Soon, several lecturers began to inform me about the scholarship offer and told me that I should apply. After explaining the fact that I was not Sabah-born student, they began to understand and accept that I cannot apply for the scholarship. After a while, the campus was made aware of the fact that the scholarship interviewer had arrived to conduct interview selection based on students who applied for the scholarship. I never paid any attention, knowing I did not qualify to apply for the scholarship. However, when I attended my classes as usual, several students who received an excuse to attend the scholarship interview began exiting from the class. Next, one of my classmates began to request for my attendance at the scholarship interview. I was annoyed for the distraction and told the student that I was not interested. Soon, the person returned, insisting that I must attend the interview. Frankly speaking, I hate doing something that I knew would be useless, as well as hated to do something that I do not wish to do. The lecturer instructed me to get out of the class and to attend the interview. So I decided to respect my lecturer's wishes and began walking towards the interview room. While walking, I was feeling very agitated with what was happening because I knew that I did not apply for the interview. I did not know who put me up to this, which caused me to be in a very bad mood. In other words, I was pissed off with the situation, especially being ordered to go out of my class. So after the scholarship interviewer requested all students to enter the room at once, I just entered the room without any preparation. As soon as I was seated, I tried to speak to the interviewers that I was not interested with the scholarship. Both interviewers just ignored me. I became tenser and decided to respond at them for refusing to hear my explanation. Soon, the interviewer began asking the discussion questions to all of the candidates in the room. I saw most of my friends were panicking and struggling to answer the questions. Next, I decided to help them by beginning to answer the questions and encourage my friends to give up their opinion. From the group question exercise, it was quite clear that I was controlling the conversation, where I acted as moderator to foster discussion from all of my friends. I managed to encourage everyone to contribute their ideas. Nonetheless, I assumed that in the eye of the interviewers, I had shown a certain level of control and leadership qualities, which was exactly the type of candidate that they were looking for as the scholarship recipient. In spite of that, based on their facial expression, I am absolutely certain that they did not realize that I did not fulfill the first criteria, which only allow for Sabah-born student, of which I was clearly not. I decided to continue with the interview as I was beginning to get curious on their possible reaction when they realized that I was not eligible for the scholarship. After the group interview ended, the interviewer called me first for the one-on-one interview session. I assumed that it was because I had the highest score in terms of the qualities of student that they were looking for to receive the scholarship funding. Then, the female interviewer began asking me questions about myself. I answered as best as possible and as charming as I can because I was getting excited to see their reaction after finding out that I was not born in Sabah. Soon, I was answering every questions which pleases them both based on their facial expression. Next, they began expressing how happy they were with my answers, while the female examiners started flipping through the details about myself. They were very happy with my CGPA result, and then suddenly the female interviewer's expression changed drastically. I was beginning to smile and smirk, knowing they just realized that I was not born in Sabah, which made me ineligible for the scholarship. I began to imagine how they were going to handle the situation after realizing that they had made a huge mistake. Maybe they would begin by apologizing to me, which I would be happily accept their apology and get back to my class. Then, all of a sudden, I saw the male interviewer started to scheme a certain plan and told the female interviewer that he would handle the situation. While I was waiting for an apology from him, or at least for him to admit their mistake, he began to change his tone and tried to ask questions which he assumed that I cannot answer. He assumed that I was a normal student who could be intimidated and later blamed to fail the interview. In doing so, it might save their dignity and avoid from admitting their mistake. Realizing that, I became furious with the decision that he made by trying to intimidate me. He began asking questions which tried to blame me for their own mistake. One of the questions was, why did you choose to study in business even though you studied science in your SPM examination? I did not like his tone, which sounded condescending and trying to assign a blame towards me. I replied by saying it was my choice to pursue knowledge in business. I knew that the next question would be when he would blame me for something that I did not do to cover up their mistake. Next, he did exactly as I had expected. He explained to me how Malaysia lacks the profession of scientists, doctors, and other professions that were based from science students. He told me the fact as if blaming me or saying that it was my fault for choosing my field of study. He began explaining that I should not study in business program and instead chose science-based profession to help Malaysia alleviate the shortage of scientists and doctors. He was assigning fault on me based on my own choice in my study. To me, that was my own choice, and his attack was unacceptable. So I replied to him, yes, Malaysia lacks this profession, but why are you working as human resource and training officers? Why don't you study science and become a scientist or doctor? My response had caused his facial expression to change from very confident that I cannot answer his accusation into being surprised to hear my response. I was giving him rhetorical answer to let him know that every person had a choice made based on preferences. The fact that Malaysia needed more doctors was irrelevant. Next, I further added, I saw your name as Mr. X. Why did your father not name you Mr. Y or Mr. Z? Why are you wearing a blue shirt? Why not wear red or green colors? His expression turned from surprise to shock and then into anger. He slammed his clenched fist on the table and began standing up to give his response to my rhetorical questions. He was about to speak in anger with his finger pointed directly at my smirking face. Suddenly, the female interviewer stopped him from getting enraged by my replies and began saying how time was up and would like me to excuse myself and call upon the next scholarship applicants. I grinned at him and politely excused myself from the room. I did not do that intentionally, but I was reacting from his refusal to admit the mistake that they had made. A part of not even trying to apologize, they also schemed toward assigning fault at me in order to conceal about their mistake. I did not regret my action because it was to show such individuals that the fact that they should have never underestimated any student, even at 18 years old. If they had done that to another student, it might have worked. Doing such things against me was a huge mistake, and my actions were done to let them know to never again underestimate anyone. Obviously, I did not receive the scholarship since I was not even eligible to apply for it. Nonetheless, the interview experience teaches me to be brave in upholding truth and justice, regardless of who the person might be. I do not fear anyone with power, status, or rank in society. I do not care about those perceived notions. I will uphold truth and justice despite the situation, even if by telling the truth would negatively affect myself. I believe the principle of upholding truth and justice is based on the teachings of Islam. It means that I always had to remind myself to do the right thing in life, even if I might suffer from doing so. I do not really follow the trend or the current fad from society. I do not do things to please or impress others. I do not do anything without any purpose or specific reason. I know that everything I do was intended towards walking the path of a scholar. I walk towards practicing Islam as my way of life. I know what I do in my life was based on the teachings of Islam. Even the reason behind me writing this book was following my understanding of Islam. It fulfills the concept of sharing knowledge that will benefit others. It fulfills the concept of being selfless. In addition, it was in line with the motto of I do what I say, and I say what I did. Hence, writing this book refers to the latter, I say what I did. The motto does not belong to me, but instead based on what I heard uttered by the bold genius lecturer. This ends the chapter 26. Thank you very much for listening and hope to hear you again and see you again for the next one. Thank you very much.